GenCon, the largest gaming convention in North America, will kick off later this week. And for many, this convention is one of the biggest highlights of the year for them. Over 70,000 people will descend onto the city of Indianapolis to play, buy, watch, eat, breathe, sleep, anything gaming related. The convention itself includes a wide array of gaming such as tabletop role-playing games or TTRPGs, trading card games or TCGs, and board games as well too. There's organized play, actual plays, private rooms, live streams. You can find any sort of gaming need and niche at this convention. Whether this is your first time going to Gen Con, or maybe you've been going for a number of years, or maybe you can't make it this year and you want to live vicariously through us, here are some of the vendors, events, and possible announcements that you want to check out at this year's Gen Con. First, let's talk about Dungeons & Dragons. You can't really talk about Gen Con without talking about Dungeons and Dragons because both of them actually have a very, very close history, considering that both of them were started by Gary Gygax. And every year at Gen Con, Dungeons and Dragons has the biggest presence in the TTRPG space there. You can find a number of games being run by groups and organizations like Ballman Games, D&D in the Castle. You can also find a lot of amazing companies and vendors who are selling Dungeons & Dragons related supplements and materials like Ghostfire Gaming and AAW Games. Dungeons & Dragons is definitely one of the pivotal presences at Gen Con. This year, the parent company of Dungeons & Dragons, Wizard of the Coast, will be releasing 2 expansion books, one for players and one for Dungeon Masters, that's centered around a Dungeons & Dragons setting called the Forgotten Realms. The Forgotten Realms is a setting that was created by Ed Greenwood, and it's notably the most popular, well-known setting in Dungeons & Dragons. If you've watched the Dungeons & Dragons movie that came out in 2023, or have played or consumed any media related to Baldur's Gate 3, those games and those films are located in the Forgotten Realms setting. In fact, when you look at the cover art for the books that's coming out later this year, you'll see that there is Karlach, who is one of the main characters in Baldur's Gate 3 that will be sitting right on top of the cover of the player's expansion book. At Gen Con, there are some official events where attendees can get a sneak peek into the Forgotten Realms book that's coming out. So we could probably expect that the Dungeons & Dragons team are going to make some sort of announcement related to Forgotten Realms. They'll probably also talk a little bit about the Eberron book that was supposed to come out but got pushed back. They're releasing the starter set that's coming out September. And then they also announced a starter set calling it a board game of the Stranger Things themed Dungeons & Dragons game where you can play Eddie Munson's campaign and finish the campaign as well too. So they'll probably talk about those things, but definitely, undoubtedly, Forgotten Realms is going to have a huge presence, and they'll probably make some big announcements about that setting and what their future plans are with using Forgotten Realms in the world of Dungeons & Dragons. Speaking of Dungeons & Dragons, the gaming table manufacturing company Game Theory Tables will be revealing at Gen Con the first ever officially licensed Dungeons & Dragons gaming table that they have called the Table of Adventure. The table touts having design that allows dungeon masters and players to set up their games in seconds with this table, ranging from having a quick DM screen to set up to multiple electric ports that players and dungeon masters can plug their laptops or devices into, having additional modular pieces that allows you to free up the table space, so that way you can have more of the space on the table for maps and minis and things like that. So they have these little modular pieces where you can have like a dice tray and dice storage area, cup holders where you can take notes, things like that. And this gaming table is going to be revealed for the first time in public at Gen Con. Next up, we can expect some major announcements coming from Critical Role, the popular live streaming tabletop role-playing game group, and their publishing company, Darrington Press. Although they're no strangers to creating tabletop role-playing games, Darrington Press just released Daggerheart back in May, which is their latest fantasy-based tabletop role-playing game that's been described as being narrative-forward or narrative-driven gaming style. Now, there's a lot of similarities with Daggerheart and other kinds of tabletop role-playing games out there, but it uses a 2d12 system with a hope-fear mechanic, and it has gained a lot of popularity and success among the Critical Role fan base called Critters, but it's also found a lot of success with those who are in the TTRPG community as well that are not necessarily fans of Critical Role or, diehard fans at least. And although Darrington Press didn't have a booth or much of a presence at Gen Con last year, this year they will be pulling out all the stops for Daggerheart at GenCon. They will have a booth on the exhibition hall or exhibition floor. They're going to have a showcase panel on Thursday with their game master Matt Mercer of Critical Role that's going to talk a little bit more about the game system and do like a live demo. It's expected that they're going to make some big announcement about Daggerheart. Some people are speculating that they might announce Campaign 4 there. I don't think that's going to be the case, but it is speculated that they're going to announce like maybe a new resource for the gaming community of those people who are playing Daggerheart, such as a guide on how to do your own homebrew monsters or classes or things like that, but a homebrew resource for Daggerheart. In addition to that, Darrington Press will be running a lot of sessions of Daggerheart, ranging from like 4-hour one-shots to learn to plays that takes about an hour long to do. And Critical Role will also be playing Daggerheart in their setting of Exandria in a live show that's going to be taking place on Saturday just north of Indianapolis. So not officially a Gen Con event, but obviously they tied it into the fact that Gen Con is that weekend as well too. So given all those pieces and all those, components, we're probably going to get a huge announcement at Gen Con related to Daggerheart and Critical Role. Now, Dungeons & Dragons and Darrington Press will not be the only tabletop role-playing game companies making major announcements at Gen Con. The Swedish company, Free League Publishing, that's known for games like Dragonbane, Alien the RPG, Basin, and Lord of the Rings games, will also be making some really interesting announcements and some big reveals as well, too. They've already announced that their new edition for their sci-fi game, Coriolis, will be coming out, and they called it The Great Dark. So that's the new edition coming out for that role-playing game. They're also going to be releasing a new starter set for the One Ring, which is their own RPG that's based in the Tolkien world of Lord of the Rings, as well as the starter set for the Lord of the Rings 5th edition role-playing game version as well, too. So more likely they're going to show off and preview those at Gen Con. They're also going to have a couple of halls where they'll be running their own games that they produce as well. They also will have a showcase panel that'll take place Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at Gen Con, where they'll be talking about these games, but also they have already teased out that they're going to have some surprise guests that's going to release some exciting news about games that they're going to be putting out as well too. So I haven't heard a lot of speculation on what that might be, but obviously they have big plans for announcements at Gen Con this week as well. Last but not least, it would not be a gaming convention if we didn't have vendors that would be selling games, merchandise, but also dice as well too, especially for a tabletop role-playing game convention. This is one of my favorite things about going to these conventions, is because you see just a lot of cool things with ideas that people come up with dice in terms of design, style. Everyone's trying to think of a different way to do D4 that's not a caltrop or a pyramid that's going to pierce your foot if you accidentally step on it. But Gen Con announced that they're going to have close to 600 vendors at Gen Con this year, and there's going to be a lot of popular dice making companies there, such as Dispel Dice, Dice Dungeons, Elderwood Academy, Misty Mountain Gaming, Q Workshop, Norse Foundry, Serious Dice. They all have great dice sets, and I've owned personally dice sets from the majority of those companies. So definitely, if you're going to be there, check out their booths. They're going to have at least one booth for those companies. Some companies have rented out multiple booths as well too. But they always come up with some great dice that just really captures your attention, that's really unique, that's a lot of fun. It's just really cool to see the kinds of materials they come up with. My personal favorite, however, is the company Fanroll Dice. They just create amazing dice sets for a lot of different properties, such as Dungeons & Dragons. They had the 50th anniversary dice that commemorates the original dice set of Dungeons & Dragons that came out last year. They have a metal dice set that's specific for Pathfinder. They showcase the Invincible dice set that they came up with, I think, for the RPG that's going to be coming out. They also did a Kickstarter for a unique dice set and meeple for the Catan board game as well, too. And they always do a Gen Con exclusive dice set that is in the theme of Gen Con. And I have the last 2 years Gen Con dice that they've sold, and I absolutely love it, and it's gorgeous. And this year is no different. They have showcased and I already talked about they're probably going to sell out a lot of these dice. So if you want to get these, make sure you get them early because they are selling them in limited supply. The first one that they showcase called the Eye of Genevieve, which if you don't know, Genevieve is the name of the dragon mascot for Gen Con. These are liquid core dice that has the floating eye that you probably see or even own a pair of set of dice that has a floating eye there. I'm not a big fan of floating eyes, but this dice set just looks so gorgeous. It looks so great. This is one of the ones that I think is just really fantastic, and they just do a great job of not only coming up with like great ideas for their dice sets, but they're just high quality as well too. They're also going to have a blacklight dice tray that has an eye of a dragon, I think a black dragon on there. That's really fantastic that you can turn on, and if you have any sort of like UV liquid core dice, it would glow in the dark in there. They also have the Dragon Inclusion dice set, which they always sell every year, that has a dragon head inside of each dice. And anytime that you purchase something from their booth, they're giving away a Gen Con themed mini dice set that you can own for free when you purchase something from their booth. So again, fan roll dice is my favorite, but I own dice from Q Workshop. They have some really cool one called the Dracopolis that I really love and own and use those dice all the time. Serious Dice, I actually own their Daggerheart dice set that they just released when the game came out as well too. Definitely go and check out those vendors and check out any vendors, big and small. But dice is really something that is a highlight of why people go to gaming conventions, because they're always looking for new dice sets that are really unique. Maybe you want a themed dice set for a character that you plan on playing or you're currently playing. But yeah, just really check out all those, especially fan roll dice, because their dice sets is definitely gorgeous. So those are the things you should look out for or check out while you're at Gen Con. If you're not going to be at Gen Con, definitely feel free to follow me on my social media. I will be posting about my time there. I'll try to go live on TikTok or Instagram or even YouTube to talk to you all about what's been going on at Gen Con. I also have a website and blog that you can check out as well too. I'm planning on trying to post as much as possible about the event while I'm there. I might not be able to do any something daily, but I will definitely try to post things out as much as possible on my social media. So definitely follow me there. Leave any comments about things that you want me to try to check out or try to answer questions for you. I will definitely have a lot of videos I'm going to post after Gen Con with interviews that I have with a lot of different people from people from Dungeons and Dragons. I'm going to be going to the Daggerheart showcase panel that I mentioned before as well too. We'll have interviews with people from Free League Publishing, Ballman Games, who are running the new organized play for Dungeons & Dragons for Legends of Greyhawk, the whole gamut. And so each of those interviews I will post as individual videos. I'm also going to do a summary video of my time at Gen Con as well too. So definitely, follow this channel, subscribe to this, go check out the blog. I will try to post things on the blog as well too, but also on my social media. And again, let me know if there are things that you want me to check out at Gen Con for you or try to answer for you at Gen Con. But yeah, thank you for watching. And again, if you're going to Gen Con, those are the things that you should try to watch out for or try to check out. And if you're not able to make it to Gen Con, I'm sorry to hear that, but hopefully I could help you, experience a little bit of Gen Con from my social media accounts. Take care.